Good morning.
Very good. Welcome, everybody. 9:01, we'll call the meeting to order. First order, if anybody in the public has anything to say or comments, do at this time. Okay. With no comments, today is reserve placement and capital. Some general discussion. That's what we have left, right, John?
Yes. Yes, that's the, basically it's the only section left. I have our team assembled. Dick, I'm ready to give an overview as soon as you tell me.
We're ready.
Okay. So thank you, everybody. So this is a pretty big section, and with everything else going on and proposals and proposed rules, laws, or whatever that aren't in, I certainly took that into account, and especially when I received the letter. There's a letter in here from the lawyer.
They don't have the letter. I have copies of it.
Okay, so for some reason, the lawyer sent me a letter telling me about don't lower the assessment and the reserves, but whatever. So with that said, obviously I listened. As an overview is this. Our contribution, what we call depreciation, is around 1.7 million or 1.8 million this year. It's normally around 2 million, 2.1 million. I explained that before with the new DMA study. That's what the calculation was. That's a mix of all our assets and what the depreciation calculation is. We updated it with the DMA Lite. Steve did that allocation, contribution, depreciation. That's in the reserves in this proposed budget. So we're going to increase the reserve balance that the treasurer reports every month for this proposed budget of around 1.8 million, just round numbers. What I've come forward with, and the team has come forward with, and based upon the DMA study, is approximately $900,000 to $1 million of capital spend. 924 to be exact, 924,500. So if you just take the 1.8 million, the 900,000, you're increasing the reserves by 900,000. The reserves from the DMA study light that we did, it kind of was falling below that 22 to 28%, but you're going to contribute another $1 million, and that's going to help us to get into that range. Let's talk about reserves. And we know, and obviously I read in the progress that I was looking at, and I'm not denying it, even a year ago, is saying, hey, I believe we probably will have a reduction in our assessment. However, now we have this new proposed laws out there, and I guess some of you or some have concerns. So I have left that. I didn't take it into account when I did this budget, this proposed budget. I know I've explained that throughout the months. But last year, Steve, what do we have left from what we realized last year? What is it, around $1 million, $1.1 million, or?
Yeah, $1 million, almost $1.2 million. Yeah.
$1.2 million. So you have that. That's realized. That's on your balance sheet. This board can allocate that, transfer that. Steve will pick the term, any piece of that to the reserves, or I have other ideas. This year, we're running a surplus, an operating profit surplus, $1.4 million. You want to use $1 million at the end of the year? That's fine. You have that. So we make a decision with that. What do? You increase the reserves, whatever. So we're looking good on those standpoints, right? Somebody could do the math, and we certainly will, and Steve will do the math on that schedule where we list over 4 or 5 years where we stand with our reserves. It's one of the best schedules we ever created. And that's what I'm going to come forward. And now if the board decides that, or the BNF, I'm sorry, Dick, if BNF decides that that range of 22 to 28 is not enough, well, then that's a different story. I believe we're going to be well within that with everything going on. And we will do that at the end of the session. And Steve, based upon the guidance that I receive and some of the things that have come up here, We will do that. And that schedule, along with that reconciliation I gave you at the beginning, will be front and center. And it's a very important schedule. It ties everything together for everybody that has to make a decision. With that, everybody with me?
I think we all are, yeah.
Okay. So now with that, I need you to open to page, and my team here, our team, we'll go through all these line items like we've done throughout. But I just need you again, I just want to give the overview on this thing. So you go to tab 23 and you got the capital summary there. Linda met with everybody. Everybody gave them their capital, all ties to DMA study, give or take a couple of items. But when you look at this and you go down 3/4 of the page, you got a number there that's $600,000. That number should not be a shock to anybody. But what that is that the irrigation system just happened to come up for replacement, and it's been in there for years. Over these next, 5 years or 6?
5 years, yeah.
Over the next 5 years, at $600,000 a year. That's in the DMA study light. Now, while we worked on the DMA study light, obviously we had new information from the study, from were they an engineering firm or a
Yeah, the
irrigation?
designer.
The designers or the engineers or no?
So,
All right, the designers, the ones that do this, right? I believe some of you have a copy of it. They did a study. The county put money in their budget. I believe it was $15,000 2 years ago or a year ago, and they did the study. And what that showed us, and I'll let Justin correct me, but high level, it showed to replace this system was approximately $2.8 million, with another $500,000 to $600,000 to get the affluent water from the plant to our golf course. Thus, the infamous 3.4. Now, somebody's running around with a $4 million number, and I got it. They're calculating interest, and that's their right. But the number for us is 2.8 if we did the system now. In this study over 5 years, it's 600, and then there's maybe 600 and another 3%, because obviously if you spread it out over 6 years, 5 years, it's going to cost you more money in a lot of different ways, right? One, you got inflation. Two, it's like anything else. You do it all at once, you have economies of scale. You do it over time, it's going to cost you more money and possibly other issues. So what I'm coming forward and recommending, and I can only do that, is that we take this 600,000 out this year and give this board, the BNF and whatever here, an opportunity or time to see where we're at with the county. The team here, Justin and John, obviously on my left and right, have told me they can go another year. There may be some costs there more, but we can't predict what's going to break or not. But the bottom line is this: those the panels and all that stuff, which is several $100,000, those break. That could be several $100,000, right?
yeah, for full replacement, yeah.
For full replacement. Okay, I have seen where one of my superintendents are in there, basically banging it with a hammer, and it works. Sparks all over the place, but we believe we can get through it. If I take out if I get to go ahead to take this out, which I'm recommending, and my team is recommending, right? I got so then I'm at $350,000. You're putting in $1.8 million. The board can make their decision about what they want to move to new capital, because I didn't move anything from new capital. I know you have your mandates that you can do up to 10% or whatever. Just tell me what you want, and Steve will move it. But I didn't move anything to new capital. But we're putting in $1.7 million, $1.8 million. I'm coming forward with $300,000, $400,000. A lot of excess there. Now, I do have teams here that do have some equipment that are wants, and maybe it's a year ahead of time or whatever, but they have wants of maybe $100,000 or whatever that I certainly, if I can, I would come forward with. That's where it is in a nutshell. That's pretty much spelled out. Once we get through this morning and Steve runs the numbers and he updates that Excel spreadsheet, it'll give us where we are in the 22 to 28%. I'm very confident we will be in there. One more thing. I didn't just look at this year. If anybody's been working with me for the last 10 years, I've looked at the next 5 years, 7 years. I can tell you what we're going to contribute and what our needs are. Put this irrigation system kind of to the side or whatever. I think we're okay. And Steve will break that all out, and we will give an update on that. And we certainly will, either before the board review of the budget and definitely during that. So that's where I'm at. That gives you, in a nutshell, the team's ready to go through line by line with you. If anybody has any questions, Steve's actually just gave me a copy of it. And even where we're at now, it's kind of, we're in that 22% range. So again, I don't know what the proposal says. If the proposal says you got to be 50% funded or whatever, I highly doubt it. I'm not even sure if it'll happen. All I'm telling you is that everything Budget and Finance has recommended, the board's approved, and what I've spoken about over the years, we're in that. All right. With that, any questions before I get the team to?
John, I have a question in regard to the timing with the county. Have we got some idea when and if that'll ever get resolved? Okay,
so, and I see a board member raising their hand or whatever. So, and I got to tell you, Doug, and anything, this was operational. I was working with the county. And then I do see you went and you had an email out there. So quite honestly, and look, I understand because I'm leaving, but if I'm working with the county and then other people are running around this way and that way, it's not easy for me sitting here. But, I see you got your hand raised, so you probably have more information than me. The only thing that I know was that it was being talked about their budget. I believe Josh sent me an email one night telling me he was there and that they were putting it in there. Somebody else just told me that they are working on the MOU. I've kind of pulled back after I saw that email, and I don't know if the board's handling this thing. And I'm certainly not going to I don't believe in that kind of stuff. One person does it. So if the board has decided to do that now, I'm fine with that. I would just appreciate if somebody would tell me first so that I'm not doing one thing and other people are doing other things. That's all I'm saying on that. That's business. That's proper management. So, Doug, I know you had your hand raised. I'm sure you good intentions. If you want to answer that question, feel free.
Yeah, I mean, just for the record, all I do is reach out to Bertino and Bunting, said, did you have any idea when it's coming up? That's it. Bertino said, no, we don't. And I forwarded that to everybody. I said, okay, that's it. So it's not there were any other activities going on other than for my own personal edification. Is it something that was going to be imminent, or is it going to be a couple of years from now? They don't know. So at this point, we'll go back on your actions and your recommendations.
Okay, thank you, Doug. I appreciate that. I also appreciate the email. Okay, so that's where we're at. I will reach out to Dallas Baker. Mm-hmm. I will bring Justin and or John with me, and we'll go from there. I'm not sure where John Ross is, if he's still there.
He retired December 27th.
He did retire, yeah, because I haven't heard from John. But certainly the transfer to Dallas definitely happened. So I will take that as a task that I will follow up immediately after this meeting and reach out to Dallas for a meeting. All right.
Hey, John.
Yes.
Hey, John. Listen, I want to make clear that you are absolutely correct. This is an operational issue regarding this irrigation system. And the only involvement that the board should have at this point is what we've done during the meetings, letting the county know that the board supports this proposal. And I apologize on behalf of the board for getting in the middle of this thing, but it's, you're running this, and we don't want to be interfering where we shouldn't be.
And Larry, Doug, look, everybody, I do appreciate that. Duly noted. I know I need the approval of the board. I asked the board to give me where they're at because I needed that with the county, and Larry just said it, and everybody, Doug included, and everybody else has given me that support, at least what I was told from them. And that's important on this thing. So I will go forward. I will keep the board and BNF updated, and and we'll go from there. I'm also going to ask Eddie to join me on this. Okay, so with that, I have everything here. You have my recommendations. The team's assembled. If there's anything else as far as the big picture, I'll answer it. If not, I'm going to have the team start with, I guess, Aquatics. Dick, you good with that?
Oh, no, so it sounds like in the big picture with the spending at a level of 350 here, and given how we're funding the reserves, replacement reserves at 1718, without seeing the numbers, I do believe what you're saying, that they will be in the comfortable range between the 22 and the 28%, once the numbers are tied out. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, and keep in mind, you BNF and the board have retained earnings or favorable operations that money is building up on the balance sheet, making it stronger. And this board certainly can transfer that. Is that a correct statement, Steve? Can transfer that to reserves if they want, and that would not have an effect on a current year assessment. If anything, it would help to keep it low. I believe even without that, but we'll know at the end of the day, or once Steve does these calculations, where we're standing, assuming that BNF. Josh, can you help me out? Somebody's mic is, who is it, Larry? It's Larry?
Yep, got it.
Okay, thanks. I know you like hitting that mute button. So where am I? So let's try.
John, I understand that 100%.
Okay, so then we'll go forward.
Which was prior year.
Yeah. So, and again, we're going out 5 years, so we should be fine. The main thing is this BNF, I guess at the end or somewhere, Dick, you're going to have to tell me if you're all comfortable with that 22 to 28% range, and then obviously the board. I am. I mean, my history has been from when I was on BNF 10 years ago or whatever, I believed in having at least 25%, 26%. But I was very comfortable when we went to the 22%. I know what we need down the next 5 years. We will present that if anybody wants or have meetings with anybody on that. I think we're okay. I know the roads you had recommended that, maybe $1 million in reserves there. I don't have that. What I have planned is what we've been doing. We got 84 or 86 miles of road. We've been doing three miles a year.
Right. Yeah.
100,000 a mile. Now, I don't know if it's going up next year like anything else. We get the 350 from the casino, and that's what we've been doing. And it's been successful. But I just want to make a point. We don't have the $1 million reserve that you had mentioned one time in roads. However, keep in mind, we have all this other stuff, and we'll factor that out. Okay?
I do want to talk about roads. And
I know you do. Okay.
We can do that later.
Yeah, let me go through because I got the team assembled here, and then I know that especially golf. You know what? Okay, I think we're good. Let me do golf first. My apologies. John has something he has to go to, and I certainly want to get Justin back out on that course.
Sure.
All right, let me start with golf, and we will talk about roads. Yes, roads, drainage. We did bulkheads already, but I'll certainly do that. I got the experts here for that. Let's do the golf. John, why don't you take us through it, or Justin?
Yes, we had 2 pieces on there for replacement for the upcoming budget year.
Sprayer.
So a spray rig and a front deck mower that we have in there. So we have 70,000 budgeted for the spray rig and 35,000 for the front deck mower that we were looking at to replace.
And all of this is part of the DMA study?
Yes.
If you're all okay with that, I just want to add something. Dick, you good with it? Any questions?
No questions on our end.
Excellent.
John, you're going to withdraw the 600,000, right?
It's out, unless somebody tells me not to. Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you for going with the recommendation for BNF and for the board. That's also a recommendation of my team here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. With golf is this. We asked for mowers, you know that, in the 3 years I've been here. The mowers we had were not good to cut the rough, weren't even proper for the greens. The board, the good people, Ocean Pines and everything, we have funded that and we have that equipment. With that equipment, our team has been able to work more efficiently and effective and to give us a better product. We do have one more mower for the rough, a Jacobson, that's down there, and I've seen it. It could, as a backup mower, it's there unless something breaks. It's hard to get the parts. Yes, it's hard to get the parts. It's up for this budget. It would have been in this DMA or give or take a year.
Yeah, I think this year. Yeah.
So they're telling me it is in this year. The estimated cost for that is $70,000. I'm requesting, based upon my balances here and everything, based upon the results of that golf course, I'm requesting that we put this in for the 70,000. If not, I believe we can go another year. But if it breaks, it could possibly cost us more money. No, I don't know. Look, I'm not saying it'll cost you 70,000, but then you fix it in the next year, and then I'm pumping it, or somebody's pumping in the 70,000. I'm asking that we put this on there. Let's see how this goes the rest of the day, but I'm requesting that for the golf course. Dick, any questions from your team on it?
The 70,000 for the sprayer?
No, sir. 70,000, and I'm going to let Justin jump in. It's a Jacobson mower. You've probably seen it, George, when you're down there. What does it have? The 5 things or the?
Yeah, so it's got the 5 decks for mowing rough. It's a Jacobson mower. They have been closing a lot of their plants here. Getting parts is difficult. So we're looking at replacing just that last Jake mower that we have essentially down there.
John, is this in addition to the 350 you have on the page?
Yes, sir.
Or something new?
Yes.
I was looking at this as a sprayer, 75,000 front.
Yeah. I saw you doing that. Yes. Yeah. This would be additional. I held back. I wanted to see where everything would be, with the understanding that, hey, look, the reserves, this proposal and all that stuff. And we've done this with everything, not just this. If we can push something, we've done it. I'm reluctant sometimes to push something that if it breaks, it could cost me $15,000, and then the next year I'm spending 70. And especially with something that helps us make money.
I have a question. Are we keeping the mower as a backup, or does it have any sale value?
Oh, that's excellent. So we're trading?
Yeah, it's certainly fully depreciated, so there's probably very little value, but we will be trying to trade it in towards that for as much as we can find. But there's not a whole lot of value left in the current machine.
So Amy, what that is, these machines, these are antiquated and whatever. What that is if there's a golf course somewhere that has one broken, like what I'm saying, they'll be scrounging for these parts. That's where I don't want to be if this thing breaks next year.
So John, the way I look at this is, as part of the reserve study, you move things up, you move things out. You're moving this thing up, and you have a need, the expense next year. If you don't do it, to me, it seems like a prudent thing to do.
Thank you. And I do, and I might have spoken. And actually, I think it's doing this 2022 year.
I think maybe.
Yeah, we're not. We got to go back and check it, but we're pretty. It's either the 22 or 23 year. I got one telling me yes.
But things in reserve move all the time.
Exactly. Dick, I appreciate that. Oh, yeah, I'm going to put this down. I mean, I'm taking this as a go-ahead for now, but I understand at the end, if we're tight or something, that this would be one of the first things that we would look at. All right. Anything else on golf? I do want to let this team go. John's got a meeting that he has to go to, and then Justin's got some stuff. Anything else on golf before I let them go? Thank you very much. Justin, thank you. John, Justin, if you want to stay a little bit, it's fine. John, I know you got to go. Keep in touch.
Yep, we'll do.
All right, who's up next? I guess I got Aquatics and Beach Club. Kathleen could come up. You can help me out here. All right, so Eddie's my backup for Aquatics, because obviously, as you all know, Clint supports in a supporting role and with Aquatics. So we have a list here. I'm going to let Kathleen talk it. There's no big numbers. I know Kathleen has a program where she's constantly updating her furniture and everything. She'll explain it better than me or in more detail, but it's the right thing. She has a program, just like we have our programs with bulkheads and with roads, that she does certain pieces each day. So she can kind of talk this all out. To start with your furniture and everything, Kathleen.
The first thing I want to do is I want to ask for Eddie's input, because I think the Aquatrek tread ladder, and the handicap stairs at Swim and Racket are a duplicate. I think the Aquatics came from the replacement study, and it is.
I think it did, yes.
So I'd like to point out that number 10 is first one is a duplicate for $10,000, and the handicap stairs under swim and racket is an actual bid that I received. So the cat controller is basically equipment. My pump rooms are very, very caustic because of the chemicals. Typically, we see that we lose a cat controller every year. We lose an inverter every year. So we put them in there so it's not a surprise purchase. Also with the vacuum, the pool furniture, I'm going to say 4 or 5 years ago, I reached out to a vendor. I started at the beach club. We pull the furniture and send it per the budget that I'm allocated. They take the straps off, sandblast it, powder coat it, restrap it, and we do that for half the cost of a new chair. And we've seen and proven out it gives us an additional 6 or 7 years of life without purchasing new furniture. I've completed beach club, Mumford's, swim and racket, almost. I got a couple chairs there, and I started pulling some furniture from Yacht Club this year. Yacht Club furniture has been in service since 2014. It's starting to show some wear. So basically, that's what my request is on the furniture. It's an ongoing program where I'm having furniture sent out and redone at half the cost to the association. The roof for swim and racket was in the DMA, and Public Works provided me with a quotation to put a placeholder in the budget. The roof leaks. It's leaked since I've got here. I've been here since 2012. And the new ask for me is a supplemental HVAC system in the sports core pool. If you're a swimmer, when you go from that environment where we have the pools heated, the actual core areas heated, my HVAC system in the lobby is not big enough to handle the square footage there, and we cannot maintain temperature in the lobby, so it's very unpleasant to go from the pool to move through to the locker rooms. That's a new ask. And the Triton sand filters came up in the DMA, and they would be at swim and racket. I did get quotations on them. However, if we were to pull them out, it would be a winter project. It would require a pool company to come in and replumb them. And actually, at this point in time, they're functioning. I've spoken with Clint. If we were to lose one, we feel as if we could disinfect the pool with two while we pulled a new one to drop in. But that is from the DMA study that those Triton filters need to be replaced, but it would require additional to just purchasing. You'd have to have a pool company that would come in, put them in, replumb them. So I would imagine it would be at least double that if we elected to do it. But at this point in time, both myself and my partner feel as if those sand filters are functioning. And if we were to lose one, that we have a bypass program to be functional. So that's an overview of the aquatics ask. Oh, I'm sorry, I ignored the pool cover. So the pool cover that's on the Yacht Club pool has been there since 2014. I invite you to drive by. It's beautiful. It's taunt. It's working exactly the way it's supposed to. And it is the type of pool cover that the aquatics team would recommend using. I also, if you go to the beach club, you'll see that cover is ripped. It's torn. It needs to be replaced with a cover to the caliber of the Yacht Club. And I talked to our pool vendor. That's an estimate, but I can't get it nailed down without having the pool vendor come and actually, they have to check grommets. Is that what they're called?
Yes.
The grommets are important too, as to how close they are. So that's my very best ballpark to give to you for a cover. However, I do need them to come in and actually measure it. I wouldn't say it would be any more than 20% over that though.
Probably.
Agree?
Mm-hmm.
Did you talk about the roof while I was there?
Yes, sir.
Hey Kathleen, what about the 10K for the pump room doors on swim and racket is on there too?
I think the DMA study actually indicated that it was Mumford's, but again, with discussing with my pool partner, he feels as if it would be prudent for us to do swim and racket doors first. So it is in the DMA study. However, it is not listed at the facility. We're recommending doing that at Swim and Racket prior to, I believe it was Mumford's were the doors that were there. And that's the chemical room. That's the doors to the chemical room.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Kathleen, I thought we funded replacement of those doors last year.
We had a problem at the beach club, which we temporarily fixed with like piano hinges. And then I think that they were fixed, right?
Yeah, Beach Club was done.
Yeah, we did not do doors last year, that to the best of my knowledge, but we did them the year before at Beach Club.
Yep.
Okay, and then I have a question on this, the supplemental HVAC. This really should not be in the new capital category. You know, again, we have this discussion every year. The new capital is supposedly for projects that could take, you know, a couple years. So I don't think that's.
You're right, Larry.
For the new capital.
You're right. You're right. I will move that. I'll talk. Well, Steve's right here. That'll be adjusted. You're right.
And then the other question I have is, you know, and again, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought last year again we put money in for the roof again.
Last year we did Mumford's.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Mumford's was replaced last year.
Good question.
Also, there was a lot of damage and rot, panels that had to be cut out.
Right.
We did the pump room, the chemical room and Mumford's last year. And I believe it was Sports Core the year prior or 2 years prior. But we have completed, with GAF roofing, Sports Core pool,
Right.
which had a significant amount of damage when they removed the roof.
2 years ago.
And then I believe it was right before opening last year. We did Mumford's and we did the chemical room.
Right.
And then it is in the DMA study for Swim and Racket this year.
Right.
And that's
So,
okay.
and
That's fine. And there was one other thing. I think on the filter, the sand filter, I think that if it's in the study to be replaced, again, one of the issues that we've had here at Ocean Pines is we've put off this deferred maintenance. And if we have to replace that filter, that's, in my mind, we're putting off again required maintenance. And I'd rather see it get done now as opposed to waiting until something fails. And particularly, we can be justified because it is in the study to be replaced. So my position would be to go ahead and get it done. I'm speaking for myself, not for the board or the Budget and Finance Committee.
I don't disagree. I just want to make it very clear that it would be a winter project and it would require, in addition to this, involving and scheduling a certified pool company to come in, adjust whatever plumbing needs to be adjusted, and to fit in place the sand filters, which means, Eddie, you can help me better on this. I'm assuming it would be at least double that to have Pearl come in, or historically we've seen those type of charges. So if that's the case, Mr. Perone, it wouldn't be the 42. It would be, I would say, closer to like a $10,000 project to go in. And if we're going to do it, we need to go ahead and do the feature pool as well, because that's so small. I don't think it made it in the reserve study, but that filter's just
at the same time.
Yeah, just replumb it all at one time. So I'm only trying to highlight that I believe it's going to be significantly more than that. And we certainly, our team can get it done. We can get the numbers, but it's not just buying the filters.
Kathleen, I would suggest you get the numbers and get it into this. And hopefully if you can get those numbers before the budget comes to the board so that the numbers are updated.
Okay.
Thank you.
We can do that. Yep. We'll get on it.
Kathleen, I got a question regarding the mesh covers. It says it's for Beach Club and Swim Club, but the DMA study says $12,000 for Mumford's, the cover.
So
go ahead.
My cover is functional at Mumford's right now. It's not the quality that our team would recommend, and it'll be replaced earlier than the yacht club because of that. My cover is functional at Swim and Racket. I have a cover that is torn and in very bad disrepair, not accomplishing the job it's supposed to do at the beach club. So we're bringing forth the beach club that we need to go ahead and replace that cover, have them come in, give us an estimate on if we need new grommets. So that's my ask, is to do the beach club first.
So the $9,000 is just for the beach club?
The beach club, I have a number in there that is backed up by my bid. Yes, I believe that's for the beach club. It will not do, it certainly won't do 2 pools.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, I'd like to go back to the supplemental HVAC that was requested. Just from a capital perspective, capital fund perspective, I'm not aware, I don't believe there's any restriction that says that capital fund can only be used for projects that are going to take more than 1 year. There's no restriction. If it's identified in this budget process that there's a capital ask and it gets approved, then that capital expense can be done in this fiscal year. So absent of, it sounds like, and I would look at this and say it can't be done out of general replacement since we don't have the asset yet. So it is going to be a new capital ask. I would offer that we should be able to do the new capital request from the new capital fund for this particular item. And I'd like to have them reconsider that and say maybe we should put that in if it's needed.
All right, Doug, I do appreciate that. I mean, it's a new capital. I mean, obviously, it comes down to how we fund the new capital. So I understand what the other board members saying. I understand what you're saying. Maybe I just need clarity, and the board just. Well, I guess what you're saying. I guess what. Let me break it down, because I do appreciate. I guess what Larry's saying is, hey, when we put that 10% or whatever, that's it. If you want any other new capital, you're going to have to do it on your own, or is it that 10%? Which is what Doug's saying now. I just need clarity from all of you. I appreciate all of this from both of you, though.
Yeah, I mean, if it, I guess the other side would be if it's not coming from the capital fund, where would be the funding source?
Right.
Operational budget?
Operational budget.
We would transfer that amount into the capital reserve fund to cover that for this year. That 10% is a max. And so if there are other new capital projects that need to come forth, they would be considered as well. But I agree with Doug that this could be under new capital done this year and transfer the funds.
Okay, so if I can just, because I'm the one obviously that's going to be doing it. So in this simple example, let's say the board says, GM transfer 10% from the replacement to the new capital. You might be saying, and what I think you're saying, Colette, is, and just for an example, hey, 8% of it is for what Larry was saying, this new type of project, but maybe 2% is for, hey, whatever new capital, because it comes at, I always have this, we always have these situations, would be for those type of items which Doug's talking about. If that's what the three of you are saying, I'm all for that.
That's not exactly my understanding. My understanding is that we identify the project and the transfer is attached to that project. So this is a $6,000 project that you.
Well, it's not a project. It's just.
Well, what I mean, it's an ask.
Yeah. So Doug, help me out. I think and I understand what you're saying, Colette. Yeah, Doug, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Colette's right. I mean, the concept was that, you just don't automatically put 10% in. The intent when we first brought this up was to say, let's identify what we believe are going to be capital purchases that are going to be needed for the upcoming fiscal year. And let's fund the new capital fund out of the replacement, reserves that come in there in anticipation of having that spend in that particular fiscal year. So, I wouldn't put $100,000 in there knowing that we're only going to spend 50. The idea, again, the original intent was to say, let's be prudent and identify what it is that we think are going to be capital purchases. Yeah, John, I think the one fallacy in that approach is unexpected expenses, things that come up that you hadn't planned for. Remember, we're at least 6 months out before the fiscal year. If you had a crystal ball, certainly we'll be able to predict every expense. So I get that, but again, the discussion from many years ago, or when we started this, was we didn't want it to build. What was a slush fund? Remember, they were calling it a slush fund. We wanted to stay away from that nomenclature. So
okay, all right, very good.
Well, let's be clear on what the original purpose of this new capital fund was. It was to fund projects that would not be considered because of the impact on the annual assessment. So the idea was to have a reserve fund, use the money from the replacement account and up to 10%, but it was supposed to be for identified projects, not to be used just to fund capital. So, you know, this $6,000, while it is new capital, it doesn't fit the criteria that we discussed when we established this account. And what, you know, all the uproar when we did this new capital reserve account was creating a slush fund. And this $6,000 should be coming out of operations. It shouldn't be coming out. We shouldn't be putting that money into that new capital account and transferring it. That was the intent of the reserve fund. So, I mean, it's only $6,000, but let's not play games with this new capital reserve account. If we don't have any projects, and it was designed to act as a savings account for projects. And if you remember, if you go back and look at the procedures that we wrote out for this account, you know, there's supposed to be a spreadsheet kept by the general manager as to how much money is being saved for that particular project, when it's anticipated. So again, this $6,000 does not fit the criteria that we discussed when we established this account.
I disagree, but.
Yeah, I would disagree as well. This is going to go on our asset list, so it is a capital item. It meets the criteria to go on our asset list. So. Yeah,
and I would agree. And I think when we introduced the concept of project, it had a lot to do with something that wasn't going to be able to be done in a particular fiscal year. So we assigned it as a project so that funding would be earmarked in a subsequent fiscal year for a project that was decided in a previous fiscal year.
Okay.
But it was also, you know, I'll also add that it was also for projects that we wouldn't accumulate sufficient funds in a single year to complete. And so that we would have to accumulate funds over years to be able to complete.
Okay, so I will address the 6,000. I believe I know what to do. All righty. Any other questions on aquatics before I go to Beach Club?
Yes, on those mesh covers again, I'm sorry if I got confused. The $9,000 that's in there is just for the one cover in the event to cover the cost of the cover plus the grommets that need to be repaired. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, does that mean we're not going to do the other cover? Because looking at your capital project worksheet, Kathleen, it says pool cover company declining quote swim and racket this year due to the size. So we're not going to do the other cover, or what are we doing there?
They declined to quote.
Okay, so we're not going to do that cover, or are we going to?
I don't have the opportunity to right now because of COVID and supply chain and things like that. They declined to quote for the entire year. They wouldn't give me a quote going forward for the entire next calendar year.
Okay, so we're not going to do the swim and racket cover.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, thanks. That's right. I got a little confused there. Okay, appreciate it.
Okay, Dick, what say you?
I'm not hearing any other comments or questions, so proceed.
Okay, thank you. So that takes care of aquatics. It's approximately about $100,000, and we'll move forward. So on the beach club. So on the beach club, I did meet with Ralph. Steve met with Ralph. With me, any major capital that they needed. I have to say this year, there really wasn't anything across the board. The items here for the beach club, they all are aged. If anything, this is more coming from us. They're aged. They are on the DMA to be retired. So this is it. We ran it by with Ralph, and he was fine with it also. So again, it's not big money. It's due. They are old. A lot of stuff down there is old. It's better to do this than if one of these things breaks. And I got Ralph calling me at 10 o'clock on a Saturday. And we're running around trying to find this stuff. So it's 8, 11, it's $25,000, $22,000.
Okay.
All righty. I'm going to put that as a check. Thank you, Dick.
Yep. More beer.
Okay. this one's on me. If you could just scroll down, fill grade level park, White Horse Park, that's coming out, put a big X through it. That will be deleted. We have, what this is we have a situation here in White Horse Park, probably throughout the Pines, but a lot of these trees here, the roots are popping up. There's different schools of thought on how to handle it. I will address it. I'll address it through maintenance. Scratch this. I don't know how it got in there, but it's on me. Scratch this off the capital summary. And obviously that'll reduce that 335, that 324 down to around 320.
Are you scratching off?
Scratching off. So if you go down, it says fill grade level park, White Horse Park, 25,000. That should not be there. I do have a situation, but I'm going to address it in a different way. And this just got passed. I wasn't looking.
Okay.
John, I have a question. I have a question about that. On the DMA study, there was a line that said the gravel parking lot for like 1,000. That's not the same thing?
Yeah, and Amy, very good. So, yeah, originally that's what I thought it was. And even when the paper called me one night at like 11, 12 o'clock, I was like, I don't know what that is. So we did have discussions on that. We elected not to do it. This is not that, though, to answer your question. Yeah.
Thank you.
This will be handled with maintenance. We still got to, there's different schools of thought on how to handle this, but we'll handle it there. So just scratch it. Yep. Okay, so with that, I got Public Works. I got a dump trailer here at $10,000. Anybody want to give some detail on that?
It's just a trailer that pulls hydraulic dump. We use it for multiple uses. It's just got worn out. I mean, this is due to be replaced.
I have a question about that. On the DMA study, it only said like about 6,000 for that, and now the estimate's 10,000. Is that just how much you really think it's going to cost?
Cost inflation. We actually priced them. We'll probably come under 10, but we want, with the way things are going right now, we want to make sure we have enough to cover it. So I'd rather put in a little higher and come in underneath.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Actually, I think Kathleen slipped that on me here. All right. So with that said, Doug, I'm sorry, Dick, if that's a sign off, I'm going to go down to the yacht club. Can you help me out with the yacht club? I mean,
All
right. So the yacht club, Kathleen left. Again, it's basically a lot of this. They're not big numbers. And maybe Steve can help me with the miscellaneous catering equipment, but a lot of it is just updating. I know the bar stools. I actually bought some of that stuff last year with Ralph. They put it out at a tiki bar, but some of the stuff is needs replacement. So again, not a lot of money for a facility and what we have going on there. I don't have a lot of detail outside of that. You know, a lot of this stuff does need to be replaced. And obviously, if it doesn't, when we evaluate and all that stuff and go through it, we don't. But we did have last year, we did have to replace some of the stuff. Steve, do you got anything on the miscellaneous catering?
No, I know there's a lot of detail in here that Linda got from Ralph and Company. I don't know if you want to add anything.
This is miscellaneous.
Yeah, these are just odds and ends stuff. Some of you have been there when they've come to me, whether I'm at the grill or somewhere else, and there's things breaking. I just think to get out in front of it, because nothing worse than it's a Saturday night and he's got a couple hundred people there and something breaks. Yeah, especially if it's something that's $2,000 and I'm with him. I hear it and we scramble. So again, not a lot of money.
No, not a lot of money. But I'll ask this question. Kathleen was talking about refurbishing. Right. Different kinds of things here. Does that apply to the yacht club furniture or not?
So on the yacht club, right, and that's the whole thing with Aquatics, and she has her own program on that for years, and I remember that even when I was BNF and it's successful. I'm looking at the stuff here. I don't believe that is any of that refurbishing. I know with the drink rail extension, we've done that before for him. Look, we'll try to get more detail on the miscellaneous to have it in there. Linda will follow up on that afterwards. We probably have something somewhere. But yeah, it's not refurbishing in the sense of.
There's actually in the last page, it looks like 20,951.11. There's all this stuff in there. $16,000 for a wood chestnut cross back chair. 20. So there is a page in here that has some of the breakdown.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had a question about that page. That page adds up to 20,951, but what we have in here is 29.
Do you have anything on the Linda? Because I don't have anything. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff you could see, like the question on the Adirondack chairs, obviously not refurbishing.
Yeah, you have to probably add something in. We just have to figure out what that gap is.
It's not a big number. We'll get more detail on it. If there's something that I see that truly is or it shouldn't, we'll just accordingly by the board review, and we'll send out something. Linda's going to follow up with me and Ralph, but it's all miscellaneous stuff. It's nothing big. Right? Dick, you all right? I mean, I'll get you more detail, or Linda will. Sorry about that.
You know, didn't know if it's applicable or not, but just threw it out there.
What do you say?
I don't know if it's applicable or not, the refurbishing, but I just threw it out there.
Yeah, no, right. Actually, when we started, when I went down there, I actually thought that's what it was. But I know we had that last year with some of the front. Nobody's shaking his head. Yes, we had some of that last year with the furniture over near the pool. But as I look at this, I don't think it is. I think it's
The old stuff just thrown away.
Yep. So this is more replacement of some stuff up there. All right. So that's it. Probably take out the 600,000. I take out the 25,000. I mean, that's kind of easy math for me. I'm not going to ask Steve to help me out. It comes out to about 300,000. I add the 70,000 if everybody's okay with that for the tractor for golf. That brings me to 370. Well below what we will fund. I have one more request. This one's a little hard, and I just need to think about how I present this. There was a piece of equipment that I believed I needed from what Public Works told me to do projects and type of work that I had doing for them. I took it out because of my situation, and I'm not sure, what will happen going forward. But for the type of work, the type of maintenance, the type of initiatives that I had, Eddie and Noby had come to me a while ago, and they said there would be a piece of equipment that they really could use to do that kind of work. Some of you that have been seeing the debranching project that I got going, as well as other projects, whether it's drainage, and the board has, and the people of Ocean Pines have given us that equipment to help us clean the drainage in the past. But there is a piece of equipment, it's somewhere around $70,000, that it would be a wish.
Yeah, it's a wish.
And it's more that they would need for the kind of projects and stuff that I was asking them to do. Are you open
John,
to that?
why don't you get all the information and include it so that it can be reviewed by the board in 2 weeks.
I appreciate that, Larry, and the board and BNF.
John, I have another question, and it has to do with the reserves. I want to know where exactly. I know our discussions we had over the year, the surplus from last year, how it's been allocated. Now I know that we've allocated the payoff of the Brett Hill era debt, but I think we need to identify where the rest of it is going, because I don't see that here. And I know that when we had discussions about the T-Docks last year and the courts.
That's excellent.
So I'd like to know, I think everybody should know what's happening with that surplus.
Yep, and spot on, Larry, and actually had discussions with Steve and Eddie this morning, but it's spot on point. It was actually the next thing. So the T-Docks approximately, look, I got rounded numbers in my head. It's somewhere around $60,000. It's been approved. It's been ordered. What I had recommended on the T-Docks was that we would pay that out of that surplus. So Steve, if you could just give me what the reserve surplus was for last year? The exact number? Was it a million? I got in my head $1.1 million.
Yeah, 1,195,000.
Okay, so so let's just say for me, for $1.2 million, right? So the 600,000, Larry, what I was going to recommend, or what I did, and I've been talking about, was that 60,000. So it's what, $1.2 million we got? We got $1.2 million realized. So the answer is Larry's spot on question. That $1.2 million, I'm recommending rough numbers rounded 600,000 to the TDOC to go against that. Obviously, I would need the board.
60,000.
60. What'd I say?
600.
Did I say that? I was trying to get some new, I wanted to get a boat in there with you all. I'm sorry.
It was just going to have a moving stairways on.
I was going to get a boat to go with it. All right, so you're right. See, thank you. Everybody here was like looking at it. So 60,000. So that would take your realized surplus, Larry, from $1.2 million down to, help me out there, Steve, $1,140,000. Right? Yeah. Okay.
135.
All right, whatever. $1,140,000 for me now. So then I got a pickleball court, right? We got the permits. Eddie and his team are getting me 3 to 4 bids. I'm hoping to have something by the board meeting. I'm not getting a yes.
Trying to, yeah.
Trust me, he's trying, and I'm on him every morning. I text him and drive him nuts. That number, just for this, let's say, is $170,000. That's 170,000. That donut, a little too much sugar. So 170,000, Larry. Obviously, we did talk about this last year. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. To me, that fits what you all been talking about with your new capital. If you all say no, I'm recommending it goes against that realized surplus. What say you?
Well, you definitely got to do it.
Well, John, I think we agreed last year that when we went through the process last year, you were projecting the surplus, and that's what we agreed. We would pay off the debt, and then we would take some of that surplus for the projects that you brought forward. So okay. I think these two were approved. I just want to.
They definitely are approved. I mean,
right. I just want to.
So yeah, the TDOCs definitely, and we did banter back and forth depending. The TDOCs would definitely. I got it in my head. It was definitely the surplus. I did have and again, it doesn't matter to me right now, but to me, I had believed that would come out of that new capital fund that you have. If that was not what it's intended for, that's fine. Then I recommend it comes against the surplus, which I have.
Well, how did we fund it, Steve? Did we fund that?
We didn't pay it yet. Yeah.
Yeah, we paid a half.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I put.
That's where it comes out.
That's what I was.
Okay.
I was thinking that I thought that was accounted for in the new.
It is. It is. Well, that's what I was trying to say. We put it in new capital. It's in there. It's in the balance. If you go to page, where is that page?
Actually, technically, the new capital was the pickleball courts and the tennis court is what we funded for last year.
Okay, so let me just in case. Yeah, all right, stay. All right, wait. So what happened was originally high level before everything when we were talking about a tennis court and a pickleball court, we got information right. You, Larry, you with me, 170 for both. Then we realized when we started looking at it, it was just the pickleball. So it's 170 pure pickleball. It worked out. It kind of worked out because we're not doing the tennis court, and that was in new capital. I will stay with that. So with that said, and it's already on all the worksheets. It's in there. My realized surplus.
John, I'm going back to something you just said before. Was the TDOCs in new capital or not?
No, sir. The 660. I almost said it again. The 60,000 for the TDOCs. We never did that. I always said that would be surplus. Okay. I just wanted to realize the surplus, and that's Larry's telling me. Right. So your surplus right now realized rounded is $1,200,000. I'm going to take the 60,000 from that to bring down the balance. That's realized after this transfer approved by the board. We'll bring our realized surplus down to $1,140,000 from last year, and I'll talk about that.
Minus, I think it was 181 on the debt, right?
No. That's after the operating deficit, correct,
That was
Steve?
after the debt was taken out?
Yeah, call it a deficit. Don't call it debt. Yes. So, and let me just touch on that because I'm loving this. So that debt that was out there, and if somebody wants to throw the number out to me, I got in my head $1.6 million, right? And somewhere along the line, a couple of years, and I was on B&F, we increased the assessment a couple dollars to pay it off, and then we didn't put that in there. Half of that $1.6 million of deficit was paid by the increase approved by the board, recommended by B&F, right? And some of you guys and me, we paid off half of that $1.6 million with those increases. The other 800,000 was paid out of operational surpluses achieved by this team, B&F, and everybody else, the board and everything else. So when I read and I hear, and that's right? Steve did an analysis. I asked him because when I saw that $1.6 million, there was incremental increases that we put out there to pay it off, but we only paid off 800,000 with those incremental increases. The other 800,000 came from operational surpluses, okay? Thank you. Whoever asked that question, thank you, because I couldn't wait to tell you that.
So John, so now at this point, we're looking at 1.14 surplus from last year.
Yes.
Where's that money going?
Realized, Larry, realized. Yes.
Right. So you understand that, you read the papers too, like me, and all of a sudden I'm the one telling you we can't, do anything with this money, according to our favorite author, Mr. Strauss. So what are we doing with this surplus now?
Okay, wait, let me just say, you bet, I got to tell you, the financial numbers and everything in the progress, he does a very good job with that. Now, regardless of what he said with you, I don't know, I think he took that from a board meeting that's between you and him, and I don't think anybody did anything wrong there, but this $1,143,000, and Steve has a schedule that we'll put out. What I'm saying is at this point, obviously my intent, and he will tell you, before the year began, I had truly believed and forecasted in my own mind where we would be with the assessment and with our surpluses. And look, it's no secret because it's out there. I believe we would reduce the assessment. With that said, in the increases because of the fire department and all that, I don't have that $50 on the operational side anymore. I probably have more than we think when I finish this thing. I was hoping that it would be also a distribution or lower the assessment, a one-time deal, at least $50 out of the surplus. And us would still have enough in our reserves to cover what I foresee over the next 5 years.
I understand all that. I understand all that.
Well, I'm trying to answer your question, right?
Yeah,
am I not?
It's not answering the question.
What's the question? I'm sorry.
The additional discussions we had, if you remember, last year, we decided not to fund, or we decided to take the roads money, transfer it to drainage so that we could finish the Bainbridge project, right? And then the discussions we had was that we were going to take $350,000 from the surplus, put it back into the roads account. Okay, so at the 1.140, so an additional allocation from that should be $350,000 going back to roads?
Yeah, so that was part B, Larry, if I had just finished, but this is excellent. If that's the point you want me to hone in, I will, and I'm sorry I didn't do that first. So correct, and Larry is correct. What I said last year, because trying to keep the assessment down and everything and knowing we would have this realized, he's right. Out of this $1,143,000, and Steve has a schedule, Larry, that we're gonna present when this is done, where I do allocate that realized piece that's left. And obviously in this situation, since the other piece isn't happening, it's going to go against the roads and the rest of the reserves. So yes.
Okay, so what I'm trying to get crystallized, John, is I'm not concerned about the surplus for this current budget year.
And you shouldn't, because it's not realized.
Right, because it's not done yet. But I want to clarify where the surplus from last year is. So now we're down another $350,000. What's that number? 1.
So then you're at 850?
790?
Yeah, 850, Larry.
850. Right,
140 and 150. Oh, no, you're right, Larry. 800,000, use the 800, you're right.
Yeah,
You want 350.
790. Okay, so where's Where are we going with that now?
Well, you don't like what I, you don't like
What's
what
the
I'm
plan for that
So-
790?
So the 790, let's call it 800. It's easier for me as I just roll here, but that would go against the reserves. I've told you what I would do with it. It doesn't seem like it's going to pass. I'm okay with that. This is what I opened up the meeting with saying, that would go against the reserves.
Okay.
We have a schedule for that. I think I'm going to be, and again, we have to talk about the 22 to 28%.
Right.
Because I believe we're truly going to be well within that thing, within that range, with the contribution that we're making this year, right? What I'm taking out of there, which you've approved, we're going to be well within there. We're going to let Steve run these numbers. But this would, right now, this would go against that. And then obviously, I have recommendations. Now, whether or not the board, if you want me to say it, I mean, I'm kind of saying it. The fact that we're running a surplus this year, why not? But.
John, I have an observation.
Sure.
John, I have an observation more for the board than you. Since we asked the assessment payers to cover the deficit by increasing assessments over a couple of years,
How much was that, Steve?
why don't we consider taking half?
No, I mean, probably a couple of years, it was close to $100 probably.
Was it that much? So, John, I think you got to get the B&F. Can you all hear me?
Oh, I can hear you.
So I think at this stage, that's got to be a B&F thing.
No, it's got to be.
As well as the board.
It's the board's decision, not B&F. B&F.
I didn't say the board. I didn't say B&F decision. I'm saying B&F's got to give guidance on it.
All right.
I mean, I'm the only one dancing here.
Well,
Yeah, let me add something too. So John, really, kind of go on what you were saying with regard to how would you use the surplus. Right now, I think is what the 350 that's going to go to the roads and so on and so forth. We're down to that 800K, and right now at a high level, you're saying you would take that remaining balance of 800K and apply it to the reserves as a hedge to make sure that we're covered in case that legislation passes. Maybe one of the other things that would given the fact that it might not pass, one of the other things would be maybe you create your wish list and say, hey, one option would be we'll take all 800 and we'll put it towards reserves. However, if I had my druthers, here are some critical areas that might need attention in the next couple of years that I would throw out there just to have everybody informed that this may be an expense in a subsequent budget. And we may look at it and say, well, you know what, given what we know right now, given that we do have this realized surplus from last year, maybe we decided to make that purchase. I'd ask maybe one more ask from you would be to look and say what's in that potential wish list of critical items that could potentially be funded by the surplus other than just dumping it into the reserves. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm all for putting it in the reserves. I think that's the safe, conservative way to do it. However, I don't want to ignore the fact that there may be a spend that you're recommending that we at least consider.
Okay.
And John, let me just make a comment here too, since I'm the one that brought this litigation thing up, made it boil up. It was never my intent that we should take all our money and just start slamming it into reserves. The reason I made this announcement to the community at the board meeting is to let them know that there is a potential that, we may have to take another look at our reserves. It's clear nothing is going to happen this year, even if the legislation is introduced and if it were happen to be passed, it's certainly not going to take effect until next year. And I would suspect that if it is, there would be some kind of period to get your reserves up to whatever level they may think they should be. We may already be there. I don't.
Correct. I'm glad you added that. I got to tell you, I believe we are, but I understand what you're saying.
Right. So I don't think we should be. I know Jeremy's letter to you was he suggested we not reduce the reserves.
Yes.
I don't know that I agree with that. I think John O'Connor makes a good point. We, the members of the community had to pay to reduce or eliminate the debt that was created. And I think that I agree that we probably should take some of this and put it in reserves, particularly in bulkheads and roads?
I think bulkheads is a different situation, Larry. I want to talk to you offline on that.
Okay.
That's a different pot, but I understand what you're
Right,
saying.
and then understanding that we're probably looking at a surplus again this year.
Correct.
I just find it difficult not to at least reduce the assessment by some amount this year. And I think taking this $600,000 out of the irrigation makes a big difference for next year.
Sure it does.
So, so in my mind, then what we have is $800,000 surplus from last year's budget that that the board has to decide, or based on your recommendations and the BNF's recommendations, what to do with that.
9,000. Right.
So that, I think that's what we're looking for, unless there was something else that we missed.
450,000.
Unless there was something else that we missed on, that you and I talked about last year regarding allocation of this surplus.
Right. Yeah, and keep in mind, and you'll see this when you look at the reserves and everything, we've put more money in drainage. We've put more money in drainage than I saw before I got in here. We have a nice number in there. Same thing with the roads. What I'm going to do is I'll work with Steve and Linda. We'll put together this little schedule like what Doug was talking about it with you, with my recommendations or different type of options so that the board can decide on there. I'm going to take John O'Connor's guidance that kind of is in with me, but he's honing it in on, a specific reason, and that'll all be spelled out for the board. And I'll touch base with BNF before that and show it to them. Okay. It's definitely the way to go. We are, we were so accustomed to deficits and all this, and sometimes it takes a while to get the mindset changed, but we're operating on all cylinders. We have made the right decisions over 3 years. These amenities are making money. All right, I see you got it. And now and we have the analysis, Doug, Larry, Colette, whoever else is on there, Dick, the BNF. We have the analysis for everything, for cash, for reserves, for percentages, reconciliation. So you'll all be able to make the decision. Thank you.
So John, hold it. So, we've been talking a lot here. BNF has had some discussions here, and I want to interject some things here. We've talked about roads that come up here, and roads have been mentioned a couple times here, and I applaud Larry's suggestion of putting in the $350,000 extra into roads. But there's a big concern about roads and the expense down the road for roads. There's a tsunami down there of costs to refurbish roads that are going to hit us big time, huge. And to say that our policy of funding it through the casino money, that's highly inadequate. That's not going to meet the needs going ahead in the future. DMA addressed this in their study, but if you just look at DMA's reports and what they did, I drilled down a little bit, looking more at the detail, and here's some data. Over the next 5 years, 0 to 5 years, according to DMA data, 42% of our roads will be at the end of the useful life. If we look the next 6 to 10 years, 31% of our roads will be at the end of the useful life. That's a 25-year life. Some of the roads they extended to 30 years based on excellent condition. So it really says in the next 10 years, 73% of our roads will be at the end of the useful life according to DMA. And in today's dollars, that's a pretty big number. That's like $16.7 million. Couple things. I do think we need to make a down payment into the reserves for roads in this budget. And the proposal set is $350,000. I could easily argue there should be more of a down payment. But of equal importance is we really need to have a plan looking at, how we're going to fund this tsunami down the road in the future, how we're going to handle roads aside from just depending on the casino money. Because there ain't going to be enough. Sooner or later, you can extend the road 25, 30, 35 years. They're going to have to be replaced and they're going to hit all at once. So I think we need to make a down payment. 350 is on the table. I would argue with some of this extra reserve that it should be more. But of equal importance, I think we really need to have, going forward, a work group, a general manager work group that basically focuses on what we should be doing strategically to plan for and reserve for road funding going ahead in the future. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the same as the general reserves. It could be a different formula based on the uniqueness of roads, but we need some other plan besides money from the casino to fund the roads. And we need to be moving in that direction. So a significant down payment this year, and just as important, a plan going forward on how to address roads in the future. It's going to hit us big time, big dollars. Now you might say, okay, the foundation on our roads is good. Some people say that we have a good foundation, so maybe all those costs to replace them is not there. But eventually, you know, you can only cover a road so many times. You're going to have to. And even just adding asphalt to a road is costly. It needs to be addressed, and I propose, a work team to go ahead and address that in addition to any contribution into this year's budget, into the reserves for more road money.
Okay, Dick. So, and I got all that, and I'm going to respond to all that and try to give everybody. First of all, I applaud you for that. Roads have been out there for years and years and years. Obviously, when I was on BNF, we do have a plan. We're doing 3 miles a year now. At any given time, if I do 5, somebody could tell me to do 7. If I do 7, somebody could tell me to do 9. I'm glad you touched on it because I'm the one that's been saying it. What we did when JB was here, when I recommended and the board and everything, we said, let's get some history. Let's go out there and get the knowledge. And we did that. Eddie they brought in outside contractors. They did 3 miles. The first thing we asked them was, what's the sub base? And Eddie jump in and tell me the answers that we received.
Yeah, our sub base is above normal than what a lot of places do in here. It was put in very thick and very heavy. One of the reasons they did that is because where we built on, we are built in a swamp and a wood. So they had to put a big heavy base in for these roads to hold up.
Second, each year we've gone out there and done three miles. And every year, that was the first question I asked. And what did you get every year? The same.
Yeah, exactly the same. The base has always been good. At the most we've had to do, like Dick says, you can't keep overlays. We do have to mill down, but we never mill more than the first 2 inches or so. The overlay comes off and a new overlay goes on. The base has always been good. Since I've been here my 20-some years, we've never had to redo a base in here at all.
The other thing back then when we tried to jumpstart this was how much does it cost a mile? And I was in the meetings, and I know some of those board members heard some people say $2,500,000, $250,000. The winner was $68,000. That person was smart enough to ask the county how much it cost the county. Now ours is a little more because obviously we don't do as much as the county, but we're in that 90 to 100,000. I am putting more money. I do have a schedule. You want to put it all? You will have to tell me that. But if I say 300,000, you say $1 million. Now the other thing, I do see the DMA said the $1 million, and I've said, and I even said it about the roads. I believe I was the one in that meeting that said, what if something happens? But we are putting more there than we ever did. The other thing is, it's not realized, but I am running, us are running $1 million this year that you're going to see in 5 months. Let's not just jump in there now with millions. Let's put 300-400 like Larry's recommended and I'm recommended, and then look at it again with the surplus and put it again.
I don't think at this point in time, debating $100,000 more or not is really the most important issue on the table. I think the most important issue on the table.
Wait, Dick, I'm sorry. I don't understand what you're talking about. What are you talking about 100,000?
So no, we're funding 350 and you're saying, should it be more than additional 350? I'm saying that's probably not the most important question on the table right now, whether we fund 350, which was just proposed, or we make that 450 or 500.
Well, then what are you recommending? Dick, what are you and your committee recommended? That's what I want to know.
I'm recommending we fund additional money this year, and 350 is already on the table, and I think everybody's kind of.
Okay, then how much? How much?
I would, well, let me just finish here.
Fine.
I think the next step, which is as important, maybe even more important than whether I put another 100,000 in right now, is to establish a work group that basically takes a look at our roads and says, going forward over the next 10 years, here's how we should be funding roads. And other than just assuming the casino fund is the right way to go, that work group is a proposal I'd like to make that actually takes place.
Okay, so I do understand what you're saying, and I'm trying to show you the tools that we have. Now, I didn't get to the chat. I was just trying to ask Eddie, don't we rate all the roles? Roads?
We every year, which we're actually doing now, we go through, we have Clint who goes through and grades our roads, which I've sent you guys that information. We look at way more than the county and the state do when we grade our roads. Once we pick a road and choose that it has to be replaced or is due to be replaced, it goes to the engineer next. They come out and look at the road. That's how we determine the sub base is good or it's not good. They tell us we need 1.5 inch overlay or 1 inch overlay. They'll tell us that the side needs to be milled or doesn't need to be milled. After the engineer, then we go out to the contractors and get their opinion on what they need to do to meet for the amount of money we can work for that year.
So we did.
I think you do a good job, and I applaud that, and I thoroughly understand that based on the conversation we had. But the roads have a useful life. I guess maybe what you're saying, John, I guess what I'm saying is, or are you saying that we should proceed with the casino funds at $400,000 or $450,000 a year, and that's enough over the next 10 years?
We're going to go under.
10 years. So what I'm saying is correct on that piece. We continue to do 3 or 4 miles a year. I will allocate more money to get that balance up. What I'm saying is we don't need to do it right now. Let me do it over time. I got another $1.4 million coming in 5 months. Well, somebody does, I hope. And then we will allocate more of that.
Hey, John, let me interject here.
Thank you.
Dick, I appreciate your comments, but I got to tell you, I think everybody hears what you're saying about what's coming with the roads, and I don't think anybody disagrees. If I was sitting in the general manager spot, I'd have a hard time putting a work group together to come in and tell me what I'm already doing. I don't think it's a good idea. I think the board and the Budget and Finance Committee are now aware that we probably need to be taking a different approach on how we're funding the roads as opposed to the pay as you go. So I think we should probably leave it at that and let the operations team do what they're supposed to do. The Budget and Finance Committee's obligation here is oversight. And if you have a recommendation regarding funding, that's terrific. And then, the board will have to take a look at whether or not the board wants to change how we're doing it. But I think establishing a work team, I have a problem with that.
I guess it's up to the GM. I was making suggestions. It's obviously his call if he wants to have a work group or not.
Okay. So let me.
What DNF is saying is that there is a significant shortfall in roads in the next 10 years based on the data in the DMA study. And I think you said you understand that, and that's something that needs to be addressed. And that's what BNF is saying, that needs to be addressed in addition to an additional contribution, which being proposed right now, $350,000 reserves for this year. So that's what BNF is actually saying.
Okay. And what I'm saying is I am doing that. I do have a plan. We are reviewing it. We do a study. We do it ourselves. Now, obviously, if I go out and get experts or so-called experts, that could be $50,000, $75,000. Now, you do talk about 10 years. Okay. Well, I have 10 years to fund it. And right now, with the money I'm putting there, the work us are doing, I'm going to put additional as you're requesting. I'm not sure what your number is, but I am. We are better funded than we've been in the history that I've been down here doing this, 12, 15 years. And that's what I'm saying. Tell me when, because if I do this, then it's another one. We are the best we've been funded the 12, 15 years I've been doing this. That's all I got. I appreciate it. And look, I respect what you're saying, Dick. We are doing it, maybe not to the degree that you want, but we're working there. All right. If we can move on, we will show you. I am going to do the options. There will be money there. It'll be way more in roads than we've ever had. Same thing with drainage. We have done over the last 3 years more drainage work than I saw since I've been doing this. I don't know, help me out, Eddie.
Yeah, no, you're correct. Yep.
And we continue to fund it. And in this proposed budget and every budget I've gone forward with, we've put more money for drainage. So let us do the schedules now. I think I've gotten some really good input from BNF. And then let's we have all the analysis. We never had these tools before when I was sitting over there. And then let's go and let the board make some decisions and BNF give me your recommendations. I already got some changes that I'm going to make to this proposed budget. Well, Steve's going to make them. And then we're going to go forward. We got a darn good budget here. And I'll put the options out there. And then obviously the board will make the decisions. And BNF, you certainly have my ear, BNF. And we'll go with that. But either way, I think we got a darn good budget here. All right, that's all I got.
Brian, you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to broach a couple other possible topics here for capital. One is is there any discussion been made of, moving forward with the digital signage? Is there any appetite there? And then the other thing is, I know Parks and Recs Committee had been looking in about improving some of our walking trails. Is that come up as a discussion as well for some improvements being made?
Okay, so and Brian, look, and I know this has come up before, and even when I was sitting over there, one of the things, I got one person tell me they know nothing about this, and I'm not going to say who. I'm not going to tell you it was Steve because it wasn't. Only kidding, Steve. But, Eddie and I were just talking because we've had these conversations before. Look, I hate walking around that Southgate Pond trail, and I get my nice white sneakers all dirty, but I got to tell you, I wouldn't blacktop it. I wouldn't pave it. The drainage, the water coming down, you're going to have bigger problems. Eddie, help me out. I mean,
yeah, we get all the runoff on 589. It drains across, sheet flows across there, so it would be a lot more extensive than just putting a blacktop paving in. We'd have to do some drainage work before, and they're like Dixon for a road. We'd have to get into doing a base. When you're putting blacktop down, a base would have to be put in. Yeah, it's not. I mean, an overlay.
Me, and again, I would put it would be millions. That plus lighting all around the pond would be beautiful. It's not going to happen.
Okay.
I'm not sure where else. I will look at bike lanes or whatever. I know one of the committees is giving me recommendations. Debbie's nodding. Debbie and I were going to talk about it. I mean, I'll certainly look into that.
Okay, I wasn't specifically referring to the path around the Southgate. I was more referring to our other walking trails, like the one that runs along Route 90 and the one over on the
Which
south
one, 90?
side.
Is that the one I went and did?
90 is one we put in years ago. It's an actual easement.
Hold on 1 second. Yeah.
Used to read a trail for the horse.
Okay, so Brian, first of all, if it's the one that I'm thinking about, there's a pond over there. It runs along 90. I actually went down there. Marty Clark asked me to do some stuff. I think it's beautiful. I never went back there. I will look at that. We'll come up with something to improve that. Now I know that that environmental committee, they were actually looking at something for a trail in there. I'm going to have to touch base with Ken Wolf. So I will look at that and I'll talk to Ken.
The section that runs from the pond up to number 11 on the golf course where the trail is, runs parallel.
That's the one.
That is actually a county stormwater sewer easement that we're on top of.
Right.
So we're sort of limited to what we can do in there because there is sewer and water main lines all underneath there. So other than the stone dust that we have in there, I'm not sure how much more could be done in that area.
But Ken Wolf, if there might be some overlap. Ken Wolf was looking at something down around there also. But I will sign somebody to that, Nobi, and then we'll look at that. And I'm with you.
Thanks for that info, guys. I appreciate you talking about it.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
Please ask the Parks and Recs Committee too, because I know they were interested in doing some improvements there. So, and the other topic, the digital signs, any appetite or movement for trying to do something there?
Are you asking me?
Whoever, if it has come up for discussion as a capital item, or if they're, the board's discussing.
So there's, and I'm assuming a board member is going to jump in. I don't have that. I know there's a committee or a work group or somebody working on this thing. I do not have it in this budget. I know we've gotten some numbers over time. I know Josh is out there and maybe he can refresh. It's a couple $100,000. I got to be honest with you. If I'm not tasked to do it, I don't have it in there. No.
Understood. I just wanted to broach the topics as a applies here to our capital discussion.
You want my opinions on it or no?
If you'd like to contribute, sure. That's why we're discussing it.
Yeah, no, I'll pass.
Okay. Very well.
So if I could jump in, I think where we left it is the board is wanting some firmer numbers to decide, what kind of a spend we're talking about. And I thought, John, that you were going to have your staff get us firmer numbers.
So, and Colette, look, and then I missed that. We've been talking about this for the 3 years I've been in here. Josh, I'm not going to put you on the spot on this. But we do have some numbers.
I'm here.
Yeah, you don't have, I will regroup with Josh and somebody else, and we will freshen up those numbers. I know we had numbers 3 years ago, 2 years ago, then I thought there was a work group working on it. But if that's tasked on me, I got no problem with it. Right after this meeting, there'll be a follow-up, Josh and me, and we'll see what we have. And I will present that as soon as I have it. But Josh,
Hey, John,
what kind of ballpark? What kind of ballpark?
Hey, John, I have two
Ballpark, John,
things.
we were looking at about 40,000 a sign.
Is Debbie still there?
Debbie's here, yes.
Well, listen, two things. First off, I said to Kathleen yesterday what a great job she's done down in Aquatics, and I want to make sure also everybody understands how great a job Debbie Donahue has done taking over Parks and Recs, or taking over the paddle or the racket center. I can tell you from firsthand experience in talking with Debbie that she spent unbelievable amounts of time last year trying to get the budget down there sorted out. It was a complete mess. And I think she has done an excellent job. We've seen, again, just like in Aquatics, we've seen organic growth in revenue. And I attribute that to the work that Debbie's done, and mainly in taking the effort to collect the fees as opposed to just having people play for nothing down there. So Debbie, I want to make sure that you hear from me that, you've done an excellent job this year, and we appreciate all the hard work you put in trying to get things squared away down at the Racket Center. So, and the other question I had, John, and I probably should have brought this up earlier. We did the relining of some of the pipes last year. Has there been any thought in addressing any more pipes this year?
So, yeah, and Larry, again, excellent question. And I thought I touched on it before, but I got to stop having beers with you and telling you what I'm doing. But yeah, so Eddie, we had Chase, and I forget the name of his company. Eddie will jump in. Pelican. We have had him out. I think he was out here about a month and a half ago. With anything else, he's stretched with COVID. He got back to Eddie. He did give him some type of estimate. It was a little higher than last year. We are going forward with it. I do have it in the budget. When you look down at drainage in the reserve, I got 400,000 in there. At least 250 will be this. I believe, you talk about roads and everything, I believe that this is something that should be done every year, Larry. This was one of the biggest initiatives and successful initiatives. Those pipes, we didn't do anything for 50 years, 30 years. All these pipes at this price that we don't have to dig up our roads. So yes, it's in there, Larry. It's in there somewhere around 2 to 250. We'll talk more about it. But yeah, no, great point. Anything else? There is money in the budget for striping the roads. I think I saw that. Somebody hit me with that. I don't know if it was BNF or somebody else. He's got it in there. We are going to do that this year. It's in the budget for this year. There is money in there for the Simpson study. I know Colette, and I applaud you for it. You want to go forward with that. I certainly was going to do that, just like the DMA light. I've learned a lot the last 3 years as opposed to that first year when we did the study. I was looking forward to that. We could certainly bring this team to where it is, and I think it definitely showed from what we did last time. Anything else? Anything I'm missing? Anything that anybody feels as far as programs or anything? We've done more drainage, more roads. We'll do more roads. Obviously, the bulkheads, we talked about that. The dredging, I got to get the permits. We're having a hard time. If we do, we're definitely going to dredge. Let me just touch base on this infamous, and it didn't come up this year. It's the first year, and it's kind of almost like a budget balance or whatever, is the general area for bulkheads. And it's in there, Steve, for $25, which is the most we've ever put. I got to tell you, and again, I've learned from being on that side, treasurer or whatever here, I believe that 25, and it does include dredging and some other stuff, is plenty. Is plenty, and nobody's working on. He hasn't had a chance to get me, but I want the linear feet for the amount of general areas, because that $25 comes out to how much a year, Steve, that we're putting in there? $250.
Yeah,
around $250. I believe that's good, but I am going to work. We never had this before. I am going to work on it. Nobody, myself, Steve, are going to work on that. So I can truly come in here and say, hey, look, that 25 is good, or we can even lighten it, because this was the first year it didn't come up. But I believe we're good with it. If not, whatever. All right. I don't know. I don't have anything else. I mean, I'm drained. Anything on your end?
If you're talking wish list, I'm hearing from a lot of people in the community about a handicap access at the beach. Is anyone working on that?
So can you I've heard different things about the beach. Can you just give me a little more on that? I know this has come up, but what exactly? And we will look at it.
It's like
the
a
pad.
rubber.
Is it the pad?
Yes.
Yeah, the rubber. Okay, so I do know about that. We did look into this, whether it was last year or whatever. I heard all different stories on it. Debbie's going to work on that, and she'll do a presentation.
Awesome.
But I've heard all different things on it. But
yeah, let me jump in on that since I'm the liaison to the committee. Debbie and the Rec and Park Committee are pretty deep into this at this point. Where we're at now, and I think Debbie talked about it when she did her initial presentation the other day, is that we know that the county is very excited in helping us put in a all-inclusive park. And I think it's a great idea too. The board has already supported the idea, although we don't have any numbers assigned to it. Debbie and the Rec and Park Committee are dealing with vendors at this point, but to go forward, what we have to have is a survey from Vista to let us know what usable property we have over at Bainbridge and what has to be done to make it usable to put a park in over there. So at this point, the only thing that they're looking to do going forward is to have Vista do an engineering study. Once we have the engineering study, then we can work with the vendors who supply these, who build these parks, to get a better idea of how much money we're talking about. And then the next step will be to start the fundraising. There's clearly an appetite on the part of the county to help us financially. And there are a lot of private organizations that we believe will contribute to this. You know, this could run anywhere from ballpark numbers, $300,000 to $600,000 or $700,000, depending on the size. And we're hopeful that we may be able to raise enough money from donations to the community that it may not cost Ocean Pines anything, but we don't know at this point. So Debbie, if I've laid the timeline out incorrectly, go ahead and correct me.
Larry, I was referring to the beach access, handicap beach access, not the playground. I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so
we were looking into getting more information for the handicap access to the beach. I know, like John said, it had been discussed. There had been pictures of it.
Right.
I wasn't in it at that point. I just have randomly seen the information out there. But we can certainly look more into it, cost-wise, what it would take from the city to be able to do such a thing. Because if I'm not mistaken, putting that out onto the dune and into the beach is not our property. So that's going to have to also be approved through the city.
Right.
But we can certainly look into it and figure out what the next steps would be and at least have some information of what we would have to do.
Right.
And what the cost would be.
Right. We did look at it 2 years ago. We will follow up if we can. It makes sense. I did get calls on this, Amy. Some people tell me to definitely do it. Some saying not. But let Debbie look into it and we'll make a recommendation, but we definitely will look at it. Okay.
I do have a comment, guys. Speaking of wish lists, and John, you're going to love this. Back to the electronic signage. Forgive me, but I was on that committee, and they did get 8 of them approved throughout the community, and I think that's a little much, but I would love to throw in my 2 cents for one on each, the North Gate and South Gate areas, for information back to the community. I think that would be a great idea. A lot of time was spent on this, and people spent time getting approval through the county. We got a little extra fundage. It might be a good idea. Okay. Number two is the bike path. I do think that's a great idea. I feel sorry and do the sign of the cross every time I see somebody riding on side of 589 and waiting for the clip. So I would certainly be a proponent for that, and I would support that. Mm-hmm. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, no.
John, I would also like to second the electronic sign endorsement. I agree that 2 to 3 would be appropriate at this point. If Josh's numbers of 42 each are current accurate numbers, I think that.
Does that include installation? There was a whole big thing on installation. I don't think it does.
Yeah, I don't have is the ongoing cost of electrical, the installation cost and then any ongoing costs.
Right. You just heard me what I was saying there. Right. I didn't think the 40,000 included that. We did look at this 3 years ago. I'm going to have to get some people. Josh, why don't you touch base with me later on today? And Eddie, and we'll talk about this thing. Again, this is all good. And we're going to have to prioritize.
Yeah, and if we could have those numbers in time for me to put a discussion topic up for the board in the January meeting to get board consensus ideas on this, that would be appreciated. Thanks.
Wow. Okay, Josh. Flows downhill. Flows downhill.
That's January.
You bet.
All right, it sounds like we've gone through replacement, new capital reserves, wish list items. Does anybody else have any other things they want to add related to capital? I think we probably covered it pretty well.
I got one more. I just wanted to know if you had an update regarding the equipment that we need for the virtual streaming for board meetings and meetings like this, that equipment.
Yeah, so and you see how well this is going, and compliments also, by the way, Amy, Ed Kelly, he was the individual, he worked at the golf course, he had a strong background, he helped me, and then obviously Josh getting contact with Mid-South. So we have been in contact with Mid-South. We did get some estimates. I got to be honest with you, I brought this forward to the board. I put out there the 2 rooms. I left there, and I don't know what the board told me. I'm not going to start in one room, and then I got one board member telling me use that room and the other room. If the board is leaving it in the hands of the GM, I'll go forward. I'm just waiting now because in that meeting, I had one board member tell me the Assateague room, and the other board member tell me the clubhouse room, community room. So if you all are prepared to tell me which room now, we'll leave it in my hands. I'm going to go to the next step. I believe, Josh, how much was it? 20?
15 for the clubhouse.
Right. 15 for the clubhouse and then 20 for the acetate because I need the projector. So if this
Up to
board.
30 for acetate.
30, okay, whatever. So it was all in that board presentation that I did. I'm going to ask the board, what say you? Now, obviously, the clubhouse, I am trying to put in the wall and the door to, with that community center. I had to separate ways with the contractor I had, so Eddie and I are trying to put that together, and I was hoping to do that over the next month. But if you could tell me where, or leave it up to me, I will proceed.
Okay, we'll get back to you. Thank you.
Okay, and I would prioritize that over those neon signs. So if the board's putting those neon signs ahead of that, you got to tell me also.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I think we've addressed the capital issues. So next, general was just general discussions. I think we've been having a lot of general discussions in and around things this morning. Is there anything else anybody wants to add at the end of the budgeting process here that would fall in the general area about anything? Now's the time.
Just an observation, again, for the board. If the assessment's going up $1, please find an additional $8,000 in expenses or something. But don't make an adjustment of $1 only on the assessment. You need to lower it, raise it. If you're going to raise it at least $5. Anyway, just an observation.
Yeah, and John, I understand what you're saying, and Steve and I actually had that because I knew I was going to, hear this about it, and not from you, from other people. That's the math. That's the way the instructions tell me to do it. That's what it is. I got hit with things at the last minute. Maybe I should have. What was the word I used, Steve, on that thing? Maybe I should have thought about it. It was a big hit. It was $36. It came in at the last minute. So, but I understand what you're saying. All right. All right.
Any other comments? What's the date for the board meeting to review the budget, next pass the budget?
It's
1920.
I believe it's the 1920, Dick, which is the Wednesday, Thursday, not next week, the week after. 2 days. Board review of the budget. Right, Josh? Josh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that Wednesday and Thursday, 1920.
It's good that we had a number of board members here for this session, actively participating. I suspect that's going to make your 19th and 20th meeting shorter, which is a good thing. With respect to the minutes, Brian, if you could be pulling together the minutes and get it out to the full team, that would be great. I understand there's a lot of minutes for the 3 days here, and I appreciate what you're doing there. Once the team gets the minutes, if you could please take a look at them and edit them and respond quickly, because we really want to get them in the hands of John and the board ample time before the 19th here, so they have time to digest what the conclusions were from our 3 days here. So that'd be a good thing. And finally, I just want to thank John and the full OPA team for the work they did on the budget. It was a very thorough, tops-up presentation. We appreciate that. Special shout out to Steve for pulling it all together in the days before Christmas. And I just want to thank you.
Hey, Dick, this is Brian. We'll try to have the minutes out by the weekend.
That's great. That's great. That's great.
And Dick, my entire team in here, they're all nodding to me and everything. We want to, and I know I sat in that chair a few times. I appreciate what you and your team did, what they do. I know you're all volunteers. I know you don't get free golf or anything. I appreciate it. Steve will tell you, I always look forward to the BNF meetings. And the more bantering back and forth, the better they are. So I appreciate it. Same thing for the board members who decided to come to this. I agree with Dick, although to be honest with you, yesterday I wasn't sure if I turned into the channel for BNF or the board channel, but I do appreciate all the input. It certainly made my job easier. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right.